Okay, I've got another Chris Watts video for you today. Talks about what the horrific life for him is in prison. And I can only hope this is true because he deserves every minute of it. But let's get into the video. Before we do, definitely leave a like and subscribe to our channel. We do all things true crime and would love to have you join our community. We have a really awesome community. We're trying to get to the bottom of this case and we take a look at a lot of cases. So, all right, without further ado, let's get into the video. All right.
I need you to understand something. Prison has rules you don't see on the outside. There's a hierarchy in there. At the very top, the respected ones, the bank robbers, the drug dealers, even some of the violent offenders. But at the very bottom, lower than anyone else, those are the people who hurt children. And Chris Watts, he lives there every single day. You remember the case, don't you? August 2018. A family disappeared in Colorado.
Of course, we remember
A
the
father
case.
stood in front of cameras, begging for their return. He seemed broken, scared, desperate, but it was all a lie. Chris Watts knew exactly where his family was.
I usually try not to react to these the AI videos, but this one supposedly has a lot of good information in it that is actually people are visiting Chris Watts in prison, and he's having a rough time around Christmas time, supposedly, too. So that's a whole nother video, but
Because he's the one who put them there.
oh yeah.
His pregnant wife, his 2 little girls, gone. The world watched as the truth came out. The trial happened. The cameras eventually left. Everyone moved on. But here's what no one tells you. What happened after the cameras stopped rolling? Who comes visit him in prison? Why are they making his life so miserable? By the end of this video, you'll understand something. Even the most hardened criminals want him gone. And he knows it. Let's talk about Chris Watts's prison life, the part of the story nobody shares. December 2018. Just months after his conviction, Chris Watts was moved, not to another prison in Colorado, but over 1,000 miles away, to Wisconsin. Why? That's the question everyone should be asking.
Why? It was because people were actually making death threats to him. They were telling him how he could commit, unalive himself, and what he could do. He could do this and use this to do something to himself on the bunk, or they were just telling him things the way he could unalive himself. And they were making a lot of threats, and he probably wouldn't have survived another week there. They should have just left him there, my opinion. But they moved him because they didn't want it to be on them, so for protection.
Harry Levine used to work as a prison consultant. He knows how the system works. And he said something interesting about Watts. He was probably getting threats, death threats. In Colorado, people knew who he was. The guards knew. The inmates knew. And according to Levine, even the corrections officers probably wanted him gone. Think about that for a second. The people whose job it is to protect him. Even they couldn't stand him. So they moved him, far away from Colorado.
Not like it matters, though. This case went completely national, and all the inmates where he's at now know exactly what he did, too. They're just in there for a longer period of time. They're in there for life, and it's not as bad of a prison. It's not very violent. So they took him to a little sissy prison, if you want to say.
Far from the news cameras, to a place called Dodge Correctional Institution. Now you might think Wisconsin sounds random, but this prison, it has a history, a dark one. Dodge Correctional wasn't always a prison. Before that, it was a psychiatric hospital. For the criminally insane. You know who was locked up there?
Know that.
Ed Gein, the serial killer who inspired movies like Psycho and Silence of the Lambs. Stephen Avery. You might know him from Making a Murderer on Netflix. This place holds monsters, and now Chris Watts is one of them. But here's what I want you to think about. Why move him so far? What was really happening in Colorado? Was he attacked? Threatened? Did something happen that we don't know about? Authorities won't say much, but the fact that they moved him at all tells you something. He wasn't safe, and maybe they couldn't keep him safe. So they sent him to Wisconsin, to a maximum security prison in the middle of nowhere, where no one knows him, or at least that's what they hoped. As an investigative reporter and a parent myself, this was one of the hardest and touching pieces of case I've ever had to research. Please subscribe. It encourages me to keep bringing you more details about this case. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine waking up in a tiny cell. Concrete walls, a metal bed, a toilet in the corner. You're alone. And you'll stay alone for the next 23 hours. That's Chris Watts' life. Every single day. A source close to the prison said this about him. His quality of life is very low. He's locked down 23 hours a day, left alone with his thoughts, 24/7, every day.
Oh, boo-hoo. He should be left alone with his thoughts. He should think of them every day, think of his family, and how he took their lives in the most horrific way possible. I really hope he dreams about it when he goes to sleep, and he can't get it off his mind when he's awake.
Birthdays, holidays, weekends, it doesn't matter. The same four walls. Another source said he has nothing to do but think. He thinks about what he did, every day. He's tormented by his past, by his mistakes. Now you might be thinking, good, he deserves it. And maybe you're right. But here's the thing about prison. It's not just about being locked up, it's about who you're locked up with. Eddie Neves used to be an inmate. He served time. He knows how things work inside. And he said this about Chris Watts. A lot of guys would like to get their hands on him. He killed 2 little girls who didn't do nothing to deserve it. He's the lowest of the low. If the guards weren't always around, everyone would take a swing at him. Let that sink in. Even criminals have a code. And people who hurt children, they're at the bottom. Another expert said Watts will become a target of opportunity. Meaning what? Meaning if someone gets the chance, they'll take it. And Watts knows this. He lives in constant fear. He keeps to himself. He doesn't talk to people. He stays in his cell whenever possible. Because out there, in the yard, in the cafeteria, that's where danger lives.
You guys let me know in the comments. Is anyone feeling even the intimate sorry for this guy? No, I mean, I'm not. If you guys are and you feel sorry for him at all, fine. Let me know. But I can't. I cannot help but just hope that he gets prison justice, because he didn't get the death penalty and he's going to live out the rest of his life. And I hope that they take it out on him every day. I hope someone... I'm a Christian and I hate to say that, but I really hope somebody just takes him out. Or at the very least, just messes with him all day long and tells him what a lowlife he is, because what he did was it was unacceptable, and it's up to God to forgive him, but it's not. We don't have to forgive him. None of us do.
People who commit crimes against children are the most hated people on the inside. That's not my opinion. That's a fact. Inmates have families too. Some have kids. And when they see someone like Chris Watts, they don't see a person. They see someone who deserves punishment every single day. So Watts walks around knowing this, knowing that at any moment someone could attack him, knowing that the guards might not get there in time, knowing that even if they do, it might happen again tomorrow. That's his reality. And it's never going to change. You'd think someone in Watts' position would keep his head down, follow the rules, stay quiet. But that's not what happened. Chris Watts was cited for unauthorized communication and unauthorized transfer of property. What does that mean? He was breaking prison rules, talking to people he wasn't supposed to, giving things to people he wasn't supposed to. He lost phone privileges for 15 days and canteen privileges for 30 days. No snacks, no treats, no calls home. But it didn't stop there. He got in trouble again, this time for possessing contraband and disobeying orders. He lost electronics for 10 days. Now here's where it gets really weird. In July, officers found something unusual. In another inmate's cell, a guy named Dylan Tallman. They found Chris Watts' stuff. His underwear, his books, his toiletries, even petroleum jelly. Why would another inmate have Watts' personal items? When they asked him, Watts admitted everything. He'd given Tallman his books, his hygiene products, his toothbrush, his shampoo, his soap, his coffee, even his personal underwear, fruit of the loom boxes. But it gets stranger. Watts was making phone calls to Tallman's family members. He contacted Tallman's mother multiple times. He even had his own parents contact Tallman's mother and girlfriend. Now, why would he do that? Think about it. Chris Watts is isolated, completely alone. Nobody wants to talk to him. Nobody wants to be near him. How do you wake up every morning knowing what you did? How do you look at yourself in the mirror? How do you keep breathing when the weight of your actions is so enormous? You tell yourself a different story. You focus on other factors. You spread the responsibility around until it feels manageable, and that's what his letters show. A man desperately trying to make sense of his own choices, trying to find a version of events where he's not pure evil, where there's some explanation, some reason, some outside force that contributed. Inmates who've known him say he brings this up in conversations too. Not constantly, not in a way that's obvious, but little comments here and there. If things had been different, if certain people hadn't done certain things, if I'd seen the truth sooner. Always with that little word, if. Like his actions depended on other people's actions.
And if this is true, you notice how there's still no remorse. He's blaming everything in the world but himself. If this is true, this is all alleged.
Like he was just reacting to what others did, instead of making his own choices. One former inmate who was in Bible study with him said he once tried to discuss this, asked him directly about personal responsibility, about owning your choices completely. According to this person, Chris got quiet, really quiet, then said something like, "I own what I did, but you have to understand the whole picture." The whole picture. That phrase shows up in his letters too, like he's trying to get people to see something they're missing. Some context that would make everything make sense. But what context could possibly exist? What picture could possibly make his actions understandable? That's what makes people so angry. The feeling that he's minimizing, that he's not taking full responsibility, that even after 7 years in prison, he still doesn't fully get it. Or maybe he does get it. Maybe he understands completely. And maybe that's why he has to create this alternative narrative. Because understanding the full weight of what he did would be unbearable. Some people say we should have compassion for that struggle. That living with what he did is its own kind of punishment. That beating himself up mentally every day for the rest of his life serves no purpose. Others say he doesn't deserve that compassion. That he should feel every ounce of pain and guilt. That if he's not fully accepting responsibility, then he hasn't really changed at all. What do you think? Is it possible to genuinely regret something while still trying to explain it away? Or does real remorse mean accepting everything without excuses? So here we are, 2025, 7 years into his life sentences, and the question everyone wants answered is simple. Has prison changed Chris Watts? The official record says he's a model inmate, follows rules, does his job, participates in programs, stays out of trouble. By prison standards, he's doing everything right. But does that mean he's changed as a person? That's so much harder to answer. He still mops floors for 12 cents an hour, still spends 23 hours a day in his cell, still writes letters to people on the outside, still attends Bible study twice a week, still quotes scripture and talks about being forgiven. His daily routine hasn't changed much since he arrived. Same small cell, same boring meals, same isolation, same endless hours with nothing but his thoughts. But something has shifted in recent months. More people have been writing to him. Ever since some documentaries brought the case back into public attention, his mailbox has been fuller than ever. Some letters are supportive, some are hateful, some are just curious, and he responds to many of them, still trying to connect with the outside world, still trying to be understood. One thing that hasn't changed? He has no visitors. Nobody comes to see him. No family members making the trip to Wisconsin. No friends sitting across from him in the visiting room. Just him and the letters and the phone calls to people who still take them. That isolation, it's complete, total, absolute, and it will never end. He'll spend the next 40 years, maybe 50 if he lives that long, in that same routine, same cell, same prison, same life.
And he deserves every single minute of it. Every minute every heartbreak, every miserable day and holiday. You deserve it. He deserves it. Anybody think different? You guys can tell me why, but I think he deserves to suffer every day for the rest of his life, really.
Until the day he dies. And when that day comes, probably nobody will notice except a small mention in the news. One more inmate died in prison. One more person who spent decades behind bars paying for what they did. So, has he changed? Ask 10 people and you'll get 10 different answers. Some will say yes. That 7 years of reflection and faith and isolation have transformed him. That the man he is now is different from the man who committed those terrible acts. Others will say no. That real change is impossible for someone who did what he did. That claiming to be different doesn't make it true. That he's just learned how to survive prison, nothing more. And maybe the truth is somewhere in between. Maybe he has changed in some ways, but not others. Maybe parts of him feel genuine remorse while other parts still don't fully understand the impact of his choices.
All right, so what do you guys think? You think he's changed? Let me know in the comments. I mean, he may have changed. By all accounts, in the beginning, he was a good father. He was a good husband. Nicole Kessler came along, and the evil came out. So by all accounts, he may have went back to the normal Chris, but he's already made this horrible choice in life now. So you can't do that. And I believe if another woman came along, they could mess with his head again and he would do something stupid again. So no, I don't think he's changed. I don't think he's safe to step foot into society ever again. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments. Alright guys, I'll talk to you later. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of each other and always trust your gut. Remember. Bye guys.